we're here for the preliminary, so you heard who's on the parole panel this morning. So we'll just get started. I'm going to read some information into the record. Your case was assigned to me, so then I'll start the interview process and then offer my colleagues a chance to answer any questions, ask any questions rather that they may have of you. We'll hear from Ms. Bauer, and then at the end you'll be allowed to make a statement if you'd like to before we reach a decision. So, Ms. Boyce, you're classified as a third felony offender. Most recently, you were sentenced July 9th, 2018 for operating a vehicle while intoxicated. You received a 5-year sentence. They billed you also as a habitual offender for operating a vehicle while intoxicated, and you received a 10-year sentence. And then you had another sentencing for failure to report commission of certain felonies. Let me get back to that page. And you received a 1-year sentence for that. Your parole eligibility date was July 5th, 2020. You have a good time date, January 10, 2027. Your full term date is July 5th, 2028. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I noticed when I look at your record for your new conviction, you started out at LTCW in July of 2018, and you were back and forth in court in Jefferson Parish over a period of time through October of 2019. What was going on with you?
That was in reference to my soon-to-be ex-husband. I was going back and forth in court for him. Part of what led up to my incarceration was he almost killed me when I tried to leave him, when I told him I wanted a divorce. And I wound up in the trauma unit with bleeding from my brain swole, my leg was fractured. I had multiple seizures, so they were bringing me back and forth on the behalf of what had happened. And that's part of what led up to my DUI conviction.
Was that divorce proceedings or criminal
No, ma'am.
proceedings?
It was criminal proceedings.
Okay, and so you were participating in that process.
Yes, ma'am.
So you mentioned children. You have 5 kids?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What are their age ranges? Tell me.
Okay,
How's the oldest?
My oldest is 20. That's my son Bradley, and then Layla, she's 15. Then Terrell, I want to say, because he doesn't live with me, okay, I want to say he's 14, and my daughter Nevaeh is 13, and my youngest son is 11.
So where do they live?
My oldest son, he's in college. My oldest daughter, she's in Washington, D.C. with a family member. My son Terrell lives in Woodmere with a family member who adopted him. And then my daughter Nevaeh, and my son Ernest, they both reside with their biological father in New Orleans.
In New Orleans?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. You have any contact with any of them?
No, ma'am, I haven't since my incarceration.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned what led to your DWI. Let's talk about that.
Due to the severe brain injury that I had and the narcotics that I was on, the prescriptions, it didn't mix very well. Every time I was taking the medication and driving, I would just black out. And I went to jail for 1 DUI. I got out. The exact same thing happened again. I got out. It happened again a 3rd time, and I never got out of prison since then. And all the while I was going back and forth to the hospital trying to find out what was wrong with me. It's like my body was present, but I wasn't. I was absent. Something like from my brain injury and the medication, it just was not a good mixture at all.
When did the injury occur?
Oh, I don't remember the exact date.
Year. Give me a year.
It was in
2015.
Yes, ma'am.
So it never occurred to you that you can't drink and take the medication?
I wasn't drinking. It was just from taking the narcotic medication and driving. I didn't drink any alcohol.
I see. So what programs have you been able to take since you've been there?
I've taken several, actually. I took Celebrate Recovery, Living in Balance, Anger Management, the High Set program, what else? MRT. Let's see, for what else?
That's good. That's a good
Okay.
You've been taking advantage of opportunities.
Oh,
So which
yes,
of
ma'am.
those was the most meaningful to you?
To be honest with you, I really like the victim awareness class that we had, and I like the MRT.
So what was your most important takeaway from the MRT?
The MRT taught me how to deal with life better and to examine myself better, to look at myself honestly and then examine self and go forward with decisions and so forth and so on. It's a good program if you apply yourself.
Well, that's good to hear. Glad to hear that. Are you, you tell us why you think we ought to give you consideration for early release.
To be completely honest with you, I'm not the same woman who walked in this prison. I'm a completely different woman. I really spent my time wisely. I learned everything I could about the Word of God, and He transformed me. The Word of God really transformed my heart and renewed my mind. Before I came to prison, I was very naive and gullible, and I really didn't know how to make the best of choices. But because of applying myself in the Word, God taught me how to make wise choices and how to think better, how to overall just be a better person and act better. Not just that, but God greatly used me in the midst of my incarceration to minister to others, the inmates and the officers over the years of my incarceration, to reach out and help other people. And I've really done the best that I can, to be completely honest with you, to change my life. And God has greatly changed my life.
Let's talk about the failure to report the crime. Who was the victim in that matter?
That would have been my daughter, Nevaeh.
And you mentioned your your injury, your brain injury that we just talked about. Who was the perpetrator in that case?
Merton Shane Bailey.
Okay. All right. He was Nile Price, and it was Percy Prestonbach.
Yes, ma'am.
Who was the sex offender?
Yes, ma'am.
And that at that time, that was your boyfriend?
No, ma'am. That was my stepdad. I misunderstood your question. I thought you meant who was. I misunderstood, ma'am. I apologize.
Okay. I'm going to defer to my colleague. We'll defer to my colleagues, and then we'll hear from Ms. Bauer. Mr. Roche, you have. I'll give it to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good morning, Ms. Boyce. How are you?
Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
First of all, I'm interested in knowing how you're doing physically. This physical abuse happened in 2015. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. You're correct.
Okay, and tell me how you're doing now.
I'm doing much better now. It took about a year for me to heal from my brain injury, but I'm doing overall much better now.
Okay. What medication are you on now?
They don't have me on any more medication. The only medication that I take now is for the a mood stabilizer, which is Tegretol, and I take thyroid medication.
Okay. And how long have you had the mood problem?
To be honest with you,
Excuse me 1 second, please.
yes, sir.
Okay, at this time, I'll ask the question, Mr. Knox, to be okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, one of the things I was looking at, and I think you summed it up for me. You told me there. I was looking at some of the arrest citations you had on DWI, and a lot of those you had blood tests was drawn. You didn't have a. What was the medication you was on?
I was on several medications. I was on Valium, Depakote. Ooh, they gave morphine. They gave me from the hospital. and whatever other, I can't remember all the pain medicines. I think they
Well-
gave me codeine or something.
Well, you know, with those substances there, you don't need to be a driver. I mean, I was looking at some of these things. You're very, very lucky you didn't get killed.
This is the thing, and I say this with honesty. My brain injury was so severe to the point to where, sir, I couldn't think. And what I mean by that is everything was altered, in other words, due to my brain injury. So my decision making was not what it should have been.
Okay. Thank you. I was just concerned about that. I kept looking for a
Yes,
blood
sir.
alcohol content. And I couldn't, and it kept showing where you had a blood test.
Yes,
Man,
sir.
okay. Thank you.
Mr. O'Shea?
I want to apologize to the board and to Ms. Boyce. The old man forgot to unplug the telephone this morning. Now let's get back. And you said that you're feeling much better now and that you do not have any medication. And I think the last question I asked you was about your mood medication. How long have you had this problem with mood changes?
Okay, actually it didn't start off with a mood change. They actually, in the beginning, they had me on lithium for being manic bipolar. And then they changed me from that because I maxed out on the medicine and it wouldn't work anymore to Depakote. And during my incarceration, they tested my blood and my levels were very, very high for my liver. So they had to take me off of it because it became dangerous. So
Okay.
then they placed me on the Tegretol.
How long have you had the diagnosis of bipolar?
Since I was a child, a
Okay.
young girl.
Now, I understand that you had an arrest record because of your medication, but I also see that you have an arrest record that extends 15 years before the abuse. And I want to ask you about, and some of these were all processed, some of them were dismissed, but in 2000, you got arrested for simple theft. 2000, disturbing the peace by fighting. 2003, possession with intent to distribute, Schedule 4. 2004, extortion. 2004, possession of hydrocodone and some other drugs. And you received a 2-year sentence. 2011, theft of 500, between 500 and 1,500. 2011, domestic abuse battery. Let's talk about the domestic abuse battery. What was that for?
Yes, sir. Oh, I really don't remember that particular incident. What I can say to you is my past, I was not brought up in a home that I should have been brought up in. I was in and out of foster homes, molested. My mother was not present. She was on drugs. And so I really didn't have anyone present to raise me. So I really raised myself and I just did the best that I could with what I had.
Okay.
I got on pills at a young age by my godparents. And they basically said, it's okay if you do it, just don't tell nobody. So at a very young age, I became addicted to narcotics. And from there, it just kind of spiraled. My pill addiction, what led up to my behavior.
Okay, Ms. Boyce. And then you had in 2011, prohibitive acts with Schedule 2. You had your first DWI arrest in 2011. So you had an extensive criminal history even before the 215 domestic abuse. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So basically, you had a DWI prior to your reasoning why you had so many DWIs. I just wanted to put that in the record. Madam Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Roche. Ms. Bauer, we'd like to hear from you.
Yes, ma'am. Angel's been here with us for quite a while, since 2018. No write-ups. She's completed lots of classes, never a problem, has worked when she could. Never any issues.
Great, thank you.
And she
Is
has
there,
two staff members in here also. Two
That
other
wants
staff
to-
members are in here.
that want to speak
Yes, ma'am.
on her behalf? Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Whoever's going to speak first, if you come up and stand next to her so we can see you. Introduce yourself, please.
My name is Roberta Bell, and I am a correction officer at LTCW.
Great, okay.
And I would like to say here that since I've been here over a little over a year, and I met Miss Angel on the walk, and I could see in her a concerned, caring, loving person. The first time that she spoke to me. And I can say truly from my heart that she has transformed into a better person, a better woman. And I believe that she would be a big, big impact and inspiration on other women's outside and inside as well, because we have all grown and loved and respected her because of the work that she's done for LTCW. So many people that are hurt, she can come and she can love on them and tell them about the goodness of God and what she has been through and how they can overcome what they're going through.
Mhm.
And
Well,
I-
good. Thank you.
you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Thank you.
Hi,
Good
God
morning.
bless you. I am the chaplain here at this facility, but I'm also a pastor. And I got to know Miss Boyce, and I can truly, truly say that she has a genuine love for God. And you know, some people, they come and just the form and the fashion, but I've seen her and she has assisted me in my duties. And if you see the change after every deep conversation that we have, that you see change, I see transformation, and I see a person that has a how do you say that? She wants to do things better, and she has a problem with making mistakes. She wants to look at it, she mirrors it, and then she tries not to make the same mistake again. So then I have to tell her, don't beat yourself up, just get up and make better choices. And she's an inspiration. She's ministering to the women out here as if she has my job. And she has been a great, great inspiration and help. And I truly believe that she has learned from her mistakes. She has shared, she was transparent and shared her story with me. And she didn't try to point out fingers to others, which I really respected,
Mhm.
and owned her mistakes. And she said she will make better decisions. And I will be her spiritual counselor, and I will take her under my wings in our own ministry that we have, Blessings for You Ministry. So yes, I believe she's really ready.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for
Appreciate
hearing.
it. Thank you. So, Ms. Boyce, tell us about your transition plan. When I looked at the record, I saw like 3 different residence plans.
Actually, I have a current address now. The reason that there was 3 different ones is because it kept changing until finally I was like, okay, Angel, and I just laid it all at the altar and I just asked God to please give me peace with the decision that I had to make, and he did. And I have a current friend of mine, which I have her name and her phone number and address in my pocket. Her name is Karen Wilson, and she lives in Rayville, and I would be residing there under my parole until I can find my own place. There's Delta College and ULM, I think it's called. What is that right, Miss April? ULM out here. And so there's the professor actually works here who works at the ULM, and he said he would get me in college. That wouldn't be a problem at all. And I want to take business associates. You need that to open up your own church or ministry or facilities.
How would you support yourself?
I actually received Social Security. I received it before my incarceration. So I would just take my demolition paper straight to Social Security, and they turn your check back on immediately. And apart from that, working part-time.
Okay. Is there a statement you'd like to make to us?
I just want to thank y'all. I truly hold myself accountable. I've learned from my mistakes, and I'm a better person now. And I just ask that if y'all could please give me this chance, you won't regret it. God bless y'all, and thank y'all.
Thank you. Is the panel prepared to vote? Or would you, I would like for an executive session to discuss confidential matters.
I second that.
Can you call the roll, staff? Teresa?
Ms. Renatza,
Yes.
Mr. Roche,
Yes.
Mr. Wise.
Yes.
Well, it was about a 6-minute wait, but I'm going to go over the details of this case after the ones that Richard had provided.
All right, we are back in regular session. Let me see if Mr. Wise is back in with us. I don't see Mr. Wise yet. There he is. There he is. Okay, we're back in regular session, Ms. Boyce, and we're ready to vote. Mr. Roche will vote first.
Ms. Boyce? Ms. Bauer, would you unmute the mic? Ms. Bauer?
There it is.
Okay.
Ms. Boyce?
Yes, sir.
I have some concerns about releasing you today, and I'm gonna tell you why. DWI is a very, very serious offense. And I know you had some problems with medication after 2015, but you were arrested for DWI once before that. In 2013, you were on supervision, and that supervision was revoked because you tested positive for cocaine. I think you had a long history with drugs and pills prior to 2015, so that concerns me. You also have law enforcement opposition, and as I went over in my interview, you had a substantial arrest record prior to 2015. For those reasons, I'm going to vote to deny you today because I have some concerns. And when I have those concerns, I have to lean towards the side of public safety, and DWI is a very serious offense. Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. Mr. Wise?
At this time, I'm going to vote to deny because of the same reasons, Mr. Roche. And good luck. Right back just as quick as you can.
Ms. Boyce, I agree with my colleagues. I'm concerned that you still have some issues that you need to deal with. I don't believe you were, there's some things I think you haven't faced yet. I mean, you tried to blame your DWI for this offense on your traumatic brain injury, and sure that could be a contributing factor, but you had some history before that. that you were not very forthcoming with us about. So I think, I just have some concerns. So my vote today is to deny for the same reasons that's already been stated. We do wish you well. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
When you just like, if you just drift through this case and kind of like don't pay attention, it's like, whatever it's not really clear. But because of the information that I have from Richard and listening to it multiple times, what I'm picking up here is a roach of the ultimate degree. I mean, she starts off the hearing by saying, well, she wanted to divorce her husband, and then he beat her so bad she ended up in the hospital, and it's only because of that she got her third DUI conviction. And then you hear through the different children she has, and two of the youngest, her husband has custody. Now, this is the same husband that reported to police that this 8-year-old girl, his daughter, was being left in the hands of two men, a 34-year-old and a 74-year-old man, who were doing the worst to her. She was 8 years old at the time. And I don't know if you picked up on it. She had those two charges. She had the DUI 5 years, another 5 years for the habitual DUI, and then 1 year for failure to report a crime. That failure to report a crime, she was aware, she knew that those two men, those two monsters, were doing this to her daughter, and she did not stop it. The only reason it stopped was because her ex-husband, the evil one who beat her up and sent her to the hospital, I'm sure he did. That's why they gave him custody. These roaches, they come in all shapes and sizes, and you cannot just look at it. Oh, she looks innocent enough. She looks, no, she's just as bad as all of them, if not worse, because it's dangerous. Can you imagine her own biological daughter, 8 years old, and she's not doing everything in her power to protect her? And the irony of it, or the sickness of it, and the law of it, is that they give her 5 years for the DUI, 5 years for habitual, and just 1 year for not stopping the acts against what they did to her daughter. And if I had to guess, this is an opinion, this is nothing else than an opinion, it would probably was done voluntarily. She was probably bartering her daughter for exchange of something, or another hit. It's just my opinion, okay? It's nothing more than that. The men that did it to the daughter, Richard provided the court hearing. He pleaded down to a 10-year deal. That's all he got, 10 years. Got pretty much the same as she did for those DUIs. A DUI they take seriously because the potential of getting into a car and then altering the life of someone. Serious injury or worse. Well, it's the same thing when you let out to do that to a child. You're altering the life of a child. Serious injury or worse. I don't know why they can't take it, why they can't, But this is stuff we need to take up with the legislator. Like, they need to change the way that they sentence these criminals, these monsters. I'm glad that they denied her, but it's important that we saw this hearing, how manipulative, how slick they can be. And thankfully, we had a good board that picked up on different things. But also, this is why it's so critical that the assistant district attorney shows up and speaks up on behalf of the victims and lets the board know that, no, this is someone who can't get out. This is someone who is a danger. It's just my opinion. I'll put links in the descriptions. But it's just, it's terrifying. With that, I'll let you go.